Hi, so in the last video I promised that I'd be introducing you to the backtest button, but before we actually do get to backtesting of a simple strategy, it would make more sense if we create a larger watch list of stocks first. So because we're using free end of day data, we're going to need to do this manually. If you pay for data, then it will populate watch lists for you, and it's all automated, so it's very helpful and it saves you a lot of time. But more importantly, if you're going to backtest a strategy, especially if you're going to backtest a strategy on an index of stocks, you need your data to include delisted symbols, and you need your index watch lists to include historical index constituent data. And what that means is, for example, let's say you have a watch list of S&P 500 stocks. Well, the S&P 500 stocks today weren't the same S&P 500 stocks 10 years ago. And if you were to run a back test on a list of today's S&P 500 stocks, it will include what's known as survivorship bias, and that's because the stocks in the list are only in the list because they've been successful stocks. Lots of other stocks over the past 10 years may have fallen out of the S&P 500, but those stocks will no longer be in your S&P 500 list if it's simply a list of the current S&P 500 constituents. So when you pay for data, a good data provider such as Norgate Premium will include historical index constituents for you, and that will allow you to test your strategies on survivorship bias free databases. But I'll go into that in more detail later on. For now though, just so you can learn how to use the backtest button, and with the caveat that any backtest we do now is going to include survivorship bias, what we're going to do is create a watch list of S&P 500 stocks. So to do that, come to symbol watch list, new watch list, and we'll call it our S&P 500 list. Click OK, and there you can see on the left hand side of the screen here we have the S&P 500 list. The next thing we need to do is to create a text file which includes all of the tickers in the S&P 500. So a quick and easy way of doing that is to come to Wikipedia and search for a list of S&P 500 companies. This will bring you to this page. Copy and paste this entire table, which includes all of the tickers. So once you've highlighted them all, just right click, copy, open up an Excel spreadsheet, paste, and then on the left here you'll see all of the tickers. So if we delete the first line, and then if we highlight column A, right click, copy, and then if you open up a notepad, you can paste the ticker names into a notepad, save it. So we'll file save as S&P 500 list. So that'll be a text file. Save it somewhere where you'll know where to retrieve it from. Yes. And then if we come back to Amibroker, select your S&P 500 list, click File, click Import Wizard, click Pick Files, find that notepad text file, list of S&P 500 stocks you just created, click Open, click Next, and then up here all we want is the tickers. So if we skip all of these other columns, and then the watch list that we want to be populated is our S&P 500 list. So in the watch list, select S&P 500. For groups, just click change group to undefined. Click no quotation data, log errors, automatically add new symbols. Click on next, click finish. And then on the left hand side of the screen here you can see that this S&P 500 list is now populated with all of the tickers from our text file. So there's 504 tickers in total now within that list, and these are all of today's S&P 500 stocks. So if I quickly open a chart and I click on triple M, you'll see there's no data. So again, as we did with our Amibroker tutorial watch list, we need to populate our S&P 500 list with the data for each of the tickers. And to get the data, this is what we need to do. If we open up AmiQuote, and then if you select the date range that you want the data for, so we're going to go January 1999, and we'll go the 1st of January, up to the present day. And then to get the tickers from our Amibroker S&P 500 watch list, just click on Tools, Get Tickers from Amibroker, and this is now populated AmiQuote with all of the tickers from our watch lists. And then it's just a case of starting the download. And obviously, because this is the first download, it's going to take a little bit of time, so I'll go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so that's taken a considerable amount of time, but we now have the data for each of the tickers within this S&P 500 list. And if I just go through the list and I scroll out, we can see that the data has now populated each of these tickers. Now, for future reference, and as we go through the course, if you are going to continue using this free end of day data, to update the data each day, just click S&P 500 list and follow the same steps. You go to Tools, and now if you click on Auto Update Quotes, and each day it will automatically update to the most recent day. So obviously those updates won't take quite as long as the update that we just did. And that's about it for this video. In the next video, we will finally get to the backtest button, and I'll explain how to run a backtest on a single issue and on a portfolio of issues. So I'll see you in that video.